Monday, Easter Monday, and the spring has officially been cancelled in Cambridge, Ontario. My car is over there in the distance on the left. Unbelievable. They're saying we should expect up to 5 centimeters or 2 inches of snow tonight, and then 2 more centimeters or 1.5 inch tomorrow. And this is Kitchener, Ontario. So I spent 4 days in Burlington, and I left this morning. Around 8 o'clock because I had to go and buy a file folder. Because I had a bunch of papers, right? I had a bunch of papers. Show it better over here. As I was going to the Russian consulate, and I was reading reports. On the local news, watching reports that there were some protests around the Russian consulate in Toronto on the weekend, and I'm thinking, I'm in trouble. And plus, I knew that the weather will be bad in the afternoon. And they said the morning should be okay, but I was not sure. And I had a bunch of papers that I had to show at the consulate, and so I forgot to bring any kind of protection, and they said large bags are not allowed inside the consulate. And so I searched online for Staples, opens at 9, too late. And then I searched for Walmart. There was one like 3 kilometers away, and it opens at 7 a.m. So I drove to Walmart. I found a file folder, then went to Starbucks nearby, spent a couple of maybe half an hour there, and then 9 o'clock I left Burlington, and I headed east in my car towards downtown Toronto, because the Russian consulate is on Sinclair Avenue, just east of Yonge. And they're very strict, in the paperwork. They're very strict. You must bring this, do not bring this. You're only allowed to ask questions about the topic that you indicated when you were booking this appointment. They say if you start asking questions about other matters, you can be asked to leave, And of course I had to pre-book this. It took like every day you have to check. They give you a reference number, and there's a special website, and every day you have to check if there's any appointments available. And they said check once a day. And so I was checking once a day probably for 2 weeks, and then finally I saw this appointment for today. And they only gave me 2 like 15-minute long appointments. One was at 10:45 a.m. and the other one was at 11. And I think I said, okay, 10:45. And again, they're so strict, do not show up earlier than 15 minutes. And of course I know there's no parking there. I was there before. Well, I mean, it's paid parking, but it's usually booked. And so I searched online, and I found some streets. There's a big ravine there, and on the other side of the ravine on Sinclair, it's all residential areas. And according to Street View on Google, I saw that people were just parking on the side, and so that's what I programmed into my Google Maps. And sure enough, I go there, it says 1 hour. 1 hour free parking on those side streets, just 1/4 of a mile away from the consulate, you know. And so I walked back and forth a couple of times, and then I saw it was 10:30. I went into the lobby, and there's a guy sitting there. There's a table, and there's a sign says, first in Russian, then in English, for visitors to the Russian consulate. Basically, stop here. And turns out you can only get to the proper floor if this guy unlocks the elevator. You know, because there's other offices there. Like, these guys only occupy, I think, like, you know, 1 floor. And so the security guy, he shows you the list, and he says, okay, find your name of the appointments. And I see my name, and then he says, okay, I need to see your Russian passport. And clearly this guy, he's not Russian, he doesn't speak Russian. So imagine, like, how do I show you my passport, but the passport is in Russian, right? So he compares letters in Russian from my passport to the letters on the appointment list. And I felt sorry for the guy, because he was just like a kid, you know, that doesn't know how to read. He was just comparing the outlines of letters. And so I felt sorry for him. So I got my Canadian driver's license. I said, this is me. And he said, okay. And he says, just take a seat in the lobby there. He says, 10 minutes before the appointment time, I'll unlock the elevator. All right, thank you, sir. And so I sit there, and then finally he motions to me, he unlocks the elevator, punches the button, and there was another woman with me, and I remember I heard her talking to the security guy, and she said she was there for 11:15, so she was clearly too early. And as the paperwork said, do not show up earlier than 15 minutes. But she didn't want to talk to the guy. She says, basically, she was going to the elevator, and then she sees the sign for the visitors. So she comes back, and she's like, you know, not taking him very seriously. And then eventually the guy unlocks the door, and both the woman and me, we get inside. And I tell her in Russian, I said, you cannot get to the 5th floor without this guy, because it's locked. And she's like, excuse me? And I repeat, and she says, okay. And then we get to the floor, and as soon as the door opens, there's some guy talking to us on the speakerphone. And the guy downstairs, he had a walkie-talkie, and he was telling somebody upstairs, he was basically sending 2. He says, a gentleman for 10:45 and a woman for 11:15. And so they're watching, they have cameras everywhere. It's like, I'm telling you, it's so protected. It felt like we are somewhere in, I don't know how to describe it, let's say some kind of a hostile country, you know, like let's say Czechoslovakia, an embassy in Nazi Germany, you know. And Nazi Germany is at war with Czechoslovakia, but the embassy is still operational. And so that's how they kind of like, it's so secure, right? And so as soon as you open the door from the elevator, the guy says, wait, stop, lady, stop. And I'm like, what? Who's he talking? And turns out that lady, right away, she started walking alongside the corridor. And this guy says, lady, stop, come back. She's not listening to him, but it was very loud. You know, it's like in the hallway, the guy's talking to you on the speakerphone. And he says, okay, Mr. Dratchev, okay, we'll deal with that lady later. Just come to the door. And he says, turn to the right, you'll see the camera. I'm like, I come to the door, there's a locked door, and I turn my head, and there's a camera there. And he says, okay, pull down your mask. I pull down my mask, okay. He says, show me your Russian passport with the picture. On the page with the picture. Okay, get my passport, show it to the camera. The guy says, okay, we're good. So he says, now just walk down the hallway, you'll see a door, you have to push it hard, so I'm gonna unlock it. You'll hear the click, and then you wait there till they call your name. And he says, I'll get that lady back. And but this time that lady is walking back because all doors are locked. You know, you cannot get in unless this guy unlocks the door, the guy on the speakerphone. It's like, I'm telling you, it's like, this is Canada, but once you get into that building, it's like, you know, Nazi Germany, 1933. And so by this time the woman comes back, so I go ahead, and there's only one door, and I hear this lock clicks. I push the door, and inside there's a big lobby with chairs, and finally I see the windows, and I know that my appointment is for window number 4, and I see 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's a young girl at the window 4, and there's nobody else there, so I sit down and I wait there. And they were late, so they probably called me at around like 10 to 11 by the time that lady was done. And actually they were very polite, very friendly, you know, like Russian ladies. I had all the proper paperwork. I gave them the prepaid envelope, you know, they're gonna use that to send my passport when it's ready. And they take your picture right there. They have like special booths, you know, over there, kind of like what they do here at the Ministry of Transportation in Ontario. You know, they take your picture right there, right? And she said, Mr. Dratchev, please go in the booth number 1 and look at the camera. I'm gonna take your picture. And so anyway, so it was pretty quick, like maybe 10 minutes. Like, again, the lady is very friendly. And so the only 2 things that were kind of like off-putting about the visit was the super tight security. And when you go in that door, I forgot to mention, you see the X-ray, right? So you have to take off your jacket, get out all your keys, you know, kind of like the same as the airport. And then the guy does the manual sweep. Like, you go through the thing, he scans all your personal things on that conveyor, and then he still uses that wand to check if, I don't know, for bazookas or some grenades or something, I don't know. And then he says, okay, you're good, just take a seat. And then, yeah, that was my turn, and we good. And then they give you a reference number, and they say, okay, here's the website. Like, she gives you a piece of paper. She says, this is the website. You just go in, you register, you get like a free username and password, and this reference number you can check, you know, a couple times a week. Usually takes 3 months, and you will see a notice when your passport is ready. And usually you should receive it about 1 week after that. We're gonna use your prepaid envelope that you gave us, and we're gonna send it to you. And on the way back, you don't have to go through X-ray, and the elevator works. Like, you can push the down button, right? So everything is unlocked. But man, so I said 2 things that were off-putting, right? The super tight security, but number 2 is something very weird for me as Canadian, is that they had a TV, and as you're sitting there, it's so loud you cannot help but listen in. They have a TV in Russian with the official Russian, what is called, RT, basically #1 channel, fully owned by the Russian government, and it's all about that special military operation. And I listen in, and it's like and everything, it's like a topsy-turvy world, you know. Everything is opposite of what you hear on BBC, CNN, Fox News. Everything is opposite, but it's in Russian. So of course I'm Russian, so I understand, but it's just crazy. It's crazy. And I understand my mom and my brother, because that's what they listen to. They don't have any access to Western media, right? And only Russian language, RT and Channel 1 and stuff like that. And I was sitting there for 10 minutes, and I already started having doubts, you know, like, wait, so who who started this? who's responsible, because those guys keep pouring oil, you know, on the fire. Okay, here's we have some Ukrainian prisoners of war, man. So I was super glad to get out of there, I'll tell you that. And then I got into my fancy car with a check engine light, and this time I was running 91 gas, because 91 was $2.04 Canadian per liter, and 94 was $2.20. And as they say in Russia, жаба задавила, so I decided to go with 91. But the carpool super great. I love the sound, you know, immediate response on the throttle. And so I drove back, and I went straight to OK Tire, the guys who installed the headers, and I told them about these 3 issues. First one, bad brakes that somehow fixed themselves after I unclipped and reclipped that electric cable on the vacuum booster. And so as soon as I did that, the problem was gone. The brakes went back to perfect like they were before. And I said issue number 2, of course, is the check engine light. And issue number 3, I said I'm really not happy with that, you know, 3mm gap on the active valve exhaust, between the active valves and the body. I said I will pay you guys. I said I just wanted to move the exhaust forward to increase the gap, because you know it can start rattling, you never know, right? And so I thought they would want me to book an appointment, because these guys can be very busy, but today is Monday, right? Easter Monday. So it turns out, you know, the guy read my code. He had a, you know, a code scanner, and sure enough, it was the O2 sensors. And he says, well, actually it shows the front sensors and rear sensors. And I told them about the brakes. They were very surprised. They said they never touched anything over there, because all the brake cables are at the top there. But they said one theory was, they said maybe because of the heat, because when the car was on the hoist, they invited me in and showed me the location of the brake cable. It's like a metal pipe, and it's right next to my new long tube headers. And of course the problem with these is that my previous ones on the Challenger, they were coated. So they were coated, so the outside was cooler. But they were BBK, they were made in China, I'm pretty sure. Like, these are made in the States, stainless works, like it's much better quality, but they're not isolated, so they, you know, they get very hot. And these guys were saying maybe that's what affected this. But I said, wait, after I unclipped and reclipped that cable, the problem disappeared. And I said, after that I drove for 3 days in Burlington locally, and then, you know, today I drove on the freeway back at you know, pretty highway, you know, high rates of speed, you know, like normal freeway speeds, right? So if that theory was right, like there's a heat coming from the long tube header on the left side affecting that brake hose, then I would have experienced that issue again, but I haven't, or I didn't. Man, it's coming down. Look at this. See, the winter is back. Unbelievable. I'm gonna take a picture of my car in the morning, because it's gonna be all white. Christmas is here. Early Christmas 22. And so they said they had time to do it right now. So they scanned the code. So the codes were just as I thought it would be, because of the headers. It's the oxygen sensors, you know, and then they moved the exhaust, and it didn't charge me any money. So I went to Boston Pizza and I got them a large Viva Italia, long live Italy, the best pizza these guys have. I put it in my car because I thought I would ask them to deliver, but they didn't have any drivers. So I said, okay, it's only like a kilometer from the Boston Pizza to the OK Tire. I said, give me the large pizza, please, and 6 cans of Diet Pepsi. They didn't have Coke, so they gave me Diet Pepsi. And I took it to the guys. I said, thank you again, because they spent like, a couple of hours working on the exhaust and checking codes. I personally believe that, all work should be compensated. And I also showed them on the computer a picture of what I found on the internet. They're called O2 sensor defoulers. Defouler, like from the word foul, dirty. Defouler, and they're just adapters, kind of like a spacers, look like a bolt, and instead of connecting the O2 sensor directly to your long tube header, you put in that spacer and then you attach that. And so what happens is that kind of like fools the sensor into thinking there's less oxygen in the stream, and so many people find that those spacers they help you get rid of that check engine light. But some people were saying no, it didn't work. Other people were saying yes, it works. They're not that expensive, so I got a couple of them because I talked to the mechanic. He says, yeah, if you get a straight one, we're good on this side, but on the passenger side it's going to be too tight. He says try to find the spacer that has a 45-degree angle or 90-degree angle. And so I got a couple of those, and I got the straight ones, so I should have them either tomorrow or Wednesday. And the car is too low, I cannot do it myself, so I'll go back and ask these guys to install these spacers. Hopefully that will solve the problem with the check engine light. But again, the performance is great, the sound is amazing, and the check engine light is not flashing, it's just solid, But if these spacers don't work, then I gotta tune the car. And the problem with that is that I would need to unlock my PCM or get unlocked PCM with a tuner, and that's like $1,000 US. I'm really trying to avoid that, but I don't like driving with a check engine light, so we'll see what happens once I'll do a video about this. Once I install the spacers or defoulers, I'll do a video how it works, because they're not that expensive. I think I paid like $100 Canadian for a couple of sets, because I got, just to be on the safe side, I got different ones, 45-degree angle, 90-degree angle, straight ones, because on one side it's pretty tight in there between the pipe and the body, the chassis. So, and that was my day. That was my Easter Monday. So now I'm back at the hotel. I'm gonna do this video, upload it, and then maybe watch some Prime Amazon. I haven't checked yet if this TV has HDMI port. I really like that. I have this cable, right? I can hook up my computer to the TV, and instead of watching the movie on my computer, I can watch it on the big screen. Even though this one is not too big, but it's still better than oh yeah, you see, what is this? No, that's just controls. Oh, there you go. I think this one has it. Yeah, HDMI. So that's why I hook up, and it's like you have a 3-second monitor, I love it. I love that. Oh, I'll show you. So it's cable. This was the cable, because I was thinking of buying a second monitor, but then you have to carry it with you, right? So instead, this is a USB-C. So this end plugs into the computer, and this end plugs into TV, and then all you gotta do is just find the function over here on the remote, and you have to change the input from TV to okay, let's see, this one has it. Where's the menu? Menu, enter, last exit, sleep channel. This one might not have it, but basically I'll have to do it on the TV itself. You just change the input from TV to HDMI 1 or HDMI 2. Or one more thing, I picked up a package today. I bought this on Amazon. This is called Nebo. Super cool, you know, head mount flashlight. But what's cool about this, you know, I had them before, but what's cool about this one is that it has a USB-C charging port, and it came with a cable, so no batteries. You know, you just do like this, and it has a bunch of different levels, and so this will last me a long time. And then you can also change the position, so like you can do like this. Yeah. So real fancy. This was like, I forgot, 70 bucks Canadian or something. But I need this, you know, when I do my truck inspection, trailer inspection in the dark. And I was looking for something like this where you don't have to buy batteries each time, but you can just recharge it, you know. So very cool. Anyway, those are my news. Easter Monday. Enjoy your weekend if you're still off. But looks like the summer has been canceled.